My name is Kate Delaney. I'm the Learning Lab Supervisor at Gwinnett County Public Library.
Well, my name is Dr. Siobhan Watkins, and I am a middle school educator.
My name is Margaret Penn. I'm the Director of Branch Services for Gwinnett County Public Library, which means I oversee the operations of the 15 branches and 8 learning labs.
My name is Beauty P. Baldwin, and I'm a retired educator. Worked in the education system for about 40 years.
I chose to be a teacher because I have phenomenal teachers. Started from second grade with Mrs. Wild, who had all the cool stickers, let us help her grade, and let us each be our own personalities. From there, matriculated to middle school where I met Miss King, Miss Erie, and Mrs. Mack. And each of those women were influential into who I am today. They were strong, educated, and they definitely were sassy, to say the least. And to see them be themselves in a classroom was what made me really decide to be in education.
I'm not sure that I did choose. I sort of fell into it. I had started off on a different career path after college, but I knew long term I wasn't going to be happy. Even though I might be making a living, it wasn't the day-to-day I wanted for a happy life. So I started looking around to see what else might be a better fit. And I saw what I think was the last paper announcement of a job for my local public library. And it was like a light bulb went off. I just thought, that's it, that's perfect. I love reading and information. I like interacting with different types of people, and so I started with a part-time job there, and within a week I knew that was it. And so it's been libraries ever since.
Well, when I started school, we were in Baldwin County, Georgia, and it was back in the day when we walked to school. And it was like those pictures you find in the old books, and it was on a church campus. My sister was 6 years old. I was 5. I started early to go to school because we walked to school, and she had to have somebody to walk with her. So I walked with her to school. We had to walk 3 miles to school in the morning, and that little yellow bus used to pass us by, and we could not ride on that bus, but that's the way it was in my time. But I would get to school, have the teachers set up, and we would start our classes. My interest was in mathematics. And I would get through with my math, and I would just go around and help everybody else do theirs and make sure it was correct. And I knew when I was in 3rd grade that I wanted to be a math teacher. That was my start in education.
My whole career, I have worked in community service, and before I worked at the library, most of it was at museums and community galleries and art centers, all in the arts nonprofit industry. And when I relocated back to my hometown of Atlanta, I wanted to make a little bit of a change. And so I was one of the first staff members hired for the learning labs when they were brand new, and we only had one of them at the time. And so I was really fortunate to get in kind of on the ground floor of an exciting startup, basically. And I used my museum education background to create learning and education experiences for the community using the technologies that were available to them in the labs.
Well, I didn't think about that initially. Initially, I knew what I wanted to do, and I strived to do everything I could to get to that point. I remember being in high school, and I knew I wanted to be a math teacher, and I took all the math that they had available for me then. And you got to remember, this is during segregation. And the highest class in math we had at my high school was trigonometry. And when I went away to college, I went to Savannah State College at the time. And I thought I was very smart and knew all the math. And then when you get thrown into a college class with students who had high math, a high-level math, then you know, well, I didn't have enough, but I know what to do to get myself prepared for this, and this is what I did. I got out of school in 4 years, and and got my degree in mathematics education and got my first job, and I was the math department. I was the only person who taught math in that school. So I accomplished the goal that I had set out to do.
I feel empowered, being aware of colonization and how women educators became post-ornamental schools. I think that women teachers are empowered more so than ever. I think we are strong. Oftentimes we have to be the mother, the aunt, the nurse, the social worker, in addition to being the classroom teacher. So I feel empowered.
Libraries and women have an interesting relationship with each other because it's definitely, even from the inception of libraries in the country back in the days of Melville Dewey, it was seen as women's work, and yet it was all, what's the word I'm looking for? He was the one who conceived of the whole idea. He was the one in charge. He was the one setting the standards for how everything was done. But he intentionally designed libraries to be places for women to work. And that's something that has kind of lasted through all those years, and it's still seen as a feminized profession. And yet, so many of the people at the top of the profession are men. And so, it's symptomatic of something that's pervasive in our whole culture, I think. I hope that there are more opportunities for women to rise up higher and higher in the profession, and I certainly work with many inspiring women who absolutely have the potential to be thought leaders and, library directors and even higher than that. And I would love to see the profession do more to support not just women, but in particular women of color. Because while the library has a history of being a feminized profession, it's always been really leaning towards white women. It's something like 80% of people who work in libraries are white women. And so expanding the opportunities, in particular for people of color, is something that I would love to see happen more.
It has been one of those career paths where there have been a lot of women traditionally, but not in leadership positions. We are starting to see that change slowly. It's also been a career path where there haven't been a lot of people of color, either in staff positions or positions of leadership. That's also starting to change. I think any organization, whether it's a library or something else, is strongest when there are a number of different viewpoints and experiences being brought to influence with what that organization chooses to do or how it impacts its community. So I think in the past there has been a limitation to libraries because the voices at the table have tended to be one race, one ethnicity, one gender, one typical background. But you really see the blossoming of libraries in the last few years because there has been a change and there are more voices at the table. And so hopefully that will continue and we'll continue to see the strengthening of libraries.
Ooh, being a working woman it's hard at times. I'm not going to lie about that. You're often giving away extra hours that are unpaid to be prepared. You're often replying to emails from students and or parents at various times whenever you have the time. And it's even hard because I am a mother. I'm a wife and a mother, so my personal life and my professional life at times collide, and it's tricky to find balance.
Oh gosh, I've worked all my life. I have worked all my life. I worked in the cotton fields when I was growing up, and even when I went off to college, I worked every quarter because we were on the quarter system. I worked every quarter I was in school but my first quarter. I worked in the Spanish lab. I worked keeping a professor's daughter. And my mother would wash clothes and send me $2.50 a week for me to spend at college, and I would take my $30 I made a month and send it back to her. So working has always been a part of my life, and I thoroughly enjoy working, and probably why I've worked so long and why I still work, giving my time to the community right now.
I do have a family. I have a husband, a son who's 6, a live-in father-in-law, a dog, and 2 cats. So it's a lot. But that's the world we live in. We don't live in a world where families survive off of a single income like back in the 50s. That's just how the world works. And so I would never want to be, a stay-at-home mom. That's not who I am. I love my career and I love my profession, and I'm very lucky that my family supports me in that and gives me all of the resources that they're able to, so that I can be successful.
I think it is so important to have strong role models. My strongest role model was my mother. Now, my mother had a 4th grade education, so she couldn't teach me anything, but I can remember those evenings when I was doing my homework in high school, and she couldn't help me with my math or my science or whatever, but she would stand there with that oil lamp, that kerosene lamp, and she would hold that lamp while I studied. She was my role model. She wanted us to get a better education than she had had and my dad had had. My father had had. So yeah, she was my role model.
I did have strong women. I had a variety of women, which I think is important. I had a grandmother who for part of her life was a single mother to multiple children, and that was at a time when women mainly were in the home. So she went out and founded her own business and made sure she was successful to take care of her family. I had another grandmother who was very gentle and quiet, but also worked outside the home. And I saw a lot of variety there and a lot of options. And I think that's what's most important, to have examples that show you there's not just one path, but you can make your life what it needs to be, to take care of yourself, to take care of your family, and you can find ways to be fulfilled while also fulfilling your obligations.
I did have strong women growing up, and it's very important. For instance, I had my maternal grandmother, Naomi Farmer Carter, and my maternal great aunt, Lily Mae Carter, and both of those women were born prior to the Great Depression. So to hear their stories of survival during that time period, it's very empowering for me to have lived their experiences through their narratives. My aunt Lily Mae, as I stated, my aunt Aura is still a strong woman. I call her my phenomenal woman. She can do it all. My mother figure, because I've picked up women along the way through my journey, and Cheryl Landfair is definitely one that I would consider my mother. All of these strong women, in addition to my educators, they have made me who I am. They are the reason why I exude strength and intelligence, and I maneuver the different organizations or the different rooms that I enter in the way that I do. In addition, I do credit those strong women because that representation made me who I am today. Seeing women in the classroom that look like me, who have stories similar to mine, who have that internal fight, regardless of the day and regardless of how they really want to tell me off as a student. I was a good student for the most part, quite chatty, but to have all of those women play a part in who I am as a woman and an educator, I definitely say every woman should have a strong circle.
It is so important that children have a good foundation so that they can succeed later in life. If they don't get a good foundation, they don't succeed. And so it's very important that kids from the age of pre-kindergarten and up, and even earlier than that, have someone who can teach fundamentals to them so that they can succeed at a later time. Education is very important.
I personally think teaching is important because it's the foundation of who you are. Teaching starts at home. And then as you matriculate into the institutions or organizations, that teaching is enhanced. So along with the teachings from home and the curriculums that are implemented by various organizations, I think the important part of teaching is growing.
Libraries are possibility. I mean, each person is born in very different circumstances, some with enormous privilege and some with enormous hardship, but a strong public library is a means of leveling the playing field. With the resources and information, the technology that's available, we all have a chance to really improve our knowledge on nearly every subject and to interact with people who have experience in different fields or just different life experiences. And I think that's incredibly powerful, and it creates opportunities where there may not be any otherwise.
Libraries mean to me open access and giving everyone in our community the ability to learn what they need to learn to be successful and make what they want out of their lives.
That's a good question. I would say to young girls to, first of all, have faith in what you can do. Prepare yourself. Study hard. And if you study hard, prepare yourself, you'll be ready for anything God has for you. That would be my advice to them.
I would say when you're deciding what your career path is, don't chase the money. You'll find a way to make a living if it's something you really love to do. But careers tend to be a lot of time, and we end up spending more time with our colleagues than we do with our families in some cases. So it should be something that you love, something you want to do long term. And if you find a good fit, you'll find a way to make a good living from it. I would also say don't be afraid to change your mind. You may start off with something that you think is a good fit, but if it comes to not be the case or you grow out of it, it's okay to go find something new and fulfilling to you personally.
Okay, my advice would be don't be afraid to be successful in male-dominated environments.
I would say once you figure out who you are, don't forget who you are. There are a lot of other strong women who've come before us who have paved the way for us to have opportunities. And once we figure out who we are and where we are supposed to be and how we are being, don't lose sight of that.
I wish I could tell my story. I have a long story, but it takes forever. But I'm glad.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No. Can I just add a few things? And that you could add to it?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, please do.
The one thing I learned throughout my career to not only just work hard, have faith, and things will come your way, but my motto is always treat everybody, the same way you want to be treated. And when you do that, good things come to you. Good things come to you. And that's what I would suggest saying to all the young people, not just girls, but all young people. Okay?
That's always fantastic advice.
Yeah, that's the best thing. That has served me all of my career, really. I pray hard, I work hard, and good things come. Where's the wisdom? Just do the right thing. It always pays off. Yeah.
What do you think has been like something that you have done that has made the greatest impact on the community?
Open a Christian academy at my church. When I retired after 10 years as superintendent of Beaufort City Schools, my pastor asked me to start the school that they've been talking about, been working on, and I said yes. It gave me a chance to provide for those young people that background, that the fundamentals that they needed at the time, so that they could succeed. And let me tell you, we had pre-K through third grade, then pre-K through fifth, then pre-K through ninth grade. And when they left pre-K, those kids could read and they could write in cursive. And when they left that school and went to the public schools, they were performing much higher than most of the others. And my thing is, that's what we need to do. Make sure those kids have the fundamentals they need, that great foundation. And I bet you every last kid who went to that academy have done well. They have done well in life. I mean, I have Harvard graduates, attorneys, and doctors, and nurses, the whole gamut. And they always come back and say, it was our foundation. It was our foundation. Just had that happen just a week ago. Called me when they heard about the story in Gwinnett. Called me and said, Ms. Baldwin, you're the reason I'm where I am. One of them worked for Facebook, big job in Facebook. The other one is an attorney in a law firm in New York City. These are the kind of kids that we produce from that small number of kids. We only had that school 16 years, but that's all God wanted us to do. Make sure those kids would do well. Yes.
Wow, you knew that answer immediately. You were like, this is the answer.
Yes. I was so glad I could put my own curriculum together, and I knew where I wanted to start, and my team and I could put together the kind of school we knew we wanted for our children, and that was the opportunity. And that school is now North Metro Academy of Performing Arts, because in the late 2008, 2009 is when we had a lot of things happening in the economy, and parents couldn't afford to pay to have their children come to a private Christian school. So we had to close the school. That was after 16 years, but we opened a charter school with those same kids. And now that school, North Metro Academy of Performing Arts, is now a Gwinnett County public school, theme school, no longer charter. And that has just made me feel so good about what we've done for kids. And now I don't have to worry about them. They're in a school system. We don't have to worry about reapplying every 5 years. It's just a blessing,
That was the path for it. Yes. What do you hope for the next generation of educators?
In the first place, I look at educators today, and we have some smart people. We really do have smart people. And sometimes they ask the question, why is it that kids don't listen to us like they used to? And my thing has been always be in a position where kids can look up to you. You cannot look like them and dress like them and expect them to expect anything different from you. They'll treat you just like they are. They are youngsters with problems, and you don't look any different than they do. So therefore, your success in that classroom just is not going to be as good as it could be. I know that's for a fact. Yeah.